So, what is a coup? This is a word people hear all the time on the news. Normally about, something that's happening in some other countries. But it's not something most Americans really understand. Mainly because, it's a French word. Most Americans hear the word coup and they think pigeons. Others kind of think they know what it means. But then they see the word written and they're like, what the fuck? There's a P at the end. Then they think it means coupe, like the car style. And then they get totally confused because they're wondering, what is the big deal about there being a coupe in some other country somewhere? But here's a weird thing. The word coupe and the word coup, they're actually related. Both come from an old French word meaning to cut. But for the coupe, it's about the shape of the car being cut off. But for a coup, it's a different cut. It's short for coup d'état. Basically to cut off the head of the state. To decapitate the government. Now some people think a coup is a revolution. It's not. See, a revolution is when the wheel of society revolves and the people down at the bottom rise up and overthrow the oppressors at the top, and the oppressors at the top end up being at the bottom. I did a whole video on what revolution means. Check it out. Anyway, a coup, on the other hand, is when a person or a group already near the top replaces a different person or group at the top. Like when some general replaces a prime minister, or when a group of generals replace another group of generals, or when a really rich person pushes out, boom, a president or a prime minister. But there is also something called a self-coup. Now this is when someone is elected, but then decides to not follow whatever is supposed to be the highest law of the land. Like a constitution. They just ignore it. Just like they ignore any other branch of government that is there to keep it from being a dictatorship. Now sometimes, whoever gets replaced at the top and the people who replace them, they're all assholes. And the change has no real effect on the lives of the common people. But sometimes it does. Like when the U.S. government sponsored the coup in Hawaii way back in 1893. See, we didn't conquer Hawaii. Some American corporations wanted Hawaii for fruit plantations. So our tax dollars helped with the coup that booted out the Hawaiian queen Liliuokalani. And the common Hawaiians, they went from free people to field hands. And our corporations got pineapple plantations. Or when we changed the governments of Honduras, we did that a bunch of times. Swapped their governments around until our corporations got banana plantations. Or Cuba. Here's the thing. After we invaded and liberated Cuba from the Spanish, we made them sign a special deal that said we could invade them again anytime they elected a government we didn't approve of. Oh, and the corporations? They got sugar plantations. Americans love plantations. Well, some Americans love plantations. But they weren't just for the Gone with the Wind Confederate slavery. Oh, no. Plantations are just about lots of land, lots of power, lots of workers, and lots of violent oppression and racism. And also lots of profit. And you can do that anywhere. Especially anywhere where you have dark people. Just think huge corporate farm, only with a lot more whipping and murder. Anyway, coups. Mexico, Nicaragua, Greece, Egypt, Nicaragua again, Iran, where we took down a democratically elected prime minister so us and the British could control the Iranian oil. It's just in case you ever wondered why the Iranians hate us so much. Nicaragua again. Guatemala, Indonesia, Iraq, South Korea, South Vietnam, back when there was a South Vietnam, Cuba again, Congo, killed their democratically elected prime minister to save their democracy from communism. Oh, see, by this point, the coups weren't just about tropical fruit. Though strangely, a lot of them still were, but they were also about saving the world from communism and socialism. See, after years of us overthrowing their governments so our corporations could take their natural resources, the people in these countries, they just didn't appreciate all we'd done for them. And not just what we'd done. Oh, no. France, England, Belgium, and all the other European countries that like to boast about how much they love liberty, love human rights, democracy, and shit. Anyway, after a century of getting their governments overthrown and their leaders murdered so their countries could be robbed by various American and European corporations, people around the world hated our violent theft and hypocrisy so much, they started looking for another model. Something that promised to share the wealth of that country in that country, rather than shipping it off to London or Paris or Wall Street. And since our brutal thievery had given capitalism a well-deserved bad name, they thought communism and socialism. Oh, now by this point, or at this point, I should say, communism and socialism, they're not the same thing, right? I mean, communism is a type of socialism. And so while all communists are socialists, all socialists are not communists. But in either case, the capitalist powers had to nip that unprofitable to us shit in the bud. I mean, how were we going to stay rich if we couldn't steal stuff from the poor and the powerless? So we would send troops when we had to, but normally, we'd just stage a coup. Kill the elected president or prime minister like we did in Iran, or Congo, or Chile, or a few other places. Replace him with greedy generals or a king, or I don't know, some other rich bastard. Tell everyone we had saved the country from the commies. And then get back to stealing their pineapples, bananas, sugar, and increasingly, oil. And it worked. Most Americans never even questioned why we had troops all around the world, why we were supporting these new brutal dictators. Why were we hunting down and killing the freedom fighters who were trying to overthrow those brutal dictators? Why were we setting fire to human rights, to villages, to people? The citizens of the capitalist powers were told that all this death and mayhem, it was necessary to save those poor people from the leaders those poor people had elected. That was enough. Votes, schmoots, democracy, schmomocracy, freedom, schmeedum. And if we had to cut off the commie head of their country a dozen times, elected or not, we would. I mean, as long as all that fruit, timber, vegetables, cobalt, iron, and oil kept rolling in. Iraq again, Dominican Republic, Brazil, Indonesia again, Cambodia, Ethiopia, Afghanistan, Lebanon, Afghanistan, Libya, Syria, Haiti. It's a long list. And gee, look at the time. Suffice it to say, you should look it up for yourself. Anyway, that's what a coup is. It's when somebody near the top, somebody powerful and unelected, takes over or is put in power by another country and is just running shit. And a self-coup is when the person already kind of in charge decides they just want to be full-ass in charge, regardless of what any law or constitution says. It's like if you had an idiot man baby as president, someone who didn't know a goddamn thing about how to run a government of, by, and for the people, someone who treats government like a for-profit business, who ignores the courts and the laws, and who endorses corruption, who pardons people, who tried to violently overthrow an earlier election that he lost, and who also illegally puts the richest Nazi dickweasel in the world in charge of how your government spends your tax dollars. Together, they usurp the power of the legislative and judicial branches of the government, defund any programs they don't personally profit from, maybe, sell some meme coins, rip up the Constitution, and try to turn the country into a corporate plantation, all the while saying they're trying to save the country from Commies! And since this change is not through a revolution, since it's just taking place, way up at the top, like they chopped off the head of a statue of the government and put their own head up on top there. That would be a coup d'etat. Hey, it would be like the way the United States treated all those other countries. And whenever the United States supported or created a coup in another country, they were always pretty much followed up by a dictatorship. Overthrow a democracy to save the democracy. Then just to make sure that shit takes, put in a dictator. Guys, you got to stop the people from having a revolution. Stop them from restoring a constitutional government of, by, and for the people. And stop the revolutionaries from jailing or guillotining the dictatorial bastards who tried to burn their country down. Anyway, that's what a coup is.